What's up, friends? Welcome to episode 135 of Into the Necrosphere. This week I am chopping it up with Dagon and Azrael of the UK black metal berserkers Heathen Deity. They came on the show to lift the lid off the mystery surrounding the 2-decade wait for their debut record entitled True English Black Metal, which they dropped last year. And they also spoke about their triumphant turn at this year's recent Incineration Fest, amongst other things. Great guys, really fun conversation, and it will be coming your way very shortly. But before we get to that, ALDORFREA was a band I featured on episode 102 of Into the Necrosphere, which also happened to include a really fun conversation with Sammy Dewey of Goatwhore. If you haven't checked that episode out yet, make sure that you head back into the archives and do so. The ALDORFREA song that I played, I absolutely loved. It was part of my Demo of the Week segment. ALDORFREA have now found themselves a label home at Matriarch Records, and I believe they've not yet confirmed a specific date for the release of their debut record, but they have said summer 2022 they will be dropping Thy Kingdom Cold, their very first record. They do have a new single out, which I'm going to play for you very shortly. It's called The Hag, and I am assured that it's not a song about the life and times of Nancy Pelosi. What I am 100% certain of is it's going to get you in the mood for 2 hours of grimness that's going to be coming your way shortly. So this is ALDORFREA coming back to Into the Necrosphere with The Hag.
Torture before execution for crimes that are still
The song is The Hag. It's by ALDORFREA, and it's off the forthcoming record, Thy Kingdom Cold, due for release by Matriarch Records somewhere in the summer of 2022. I did mention when ALDORFREA was featured on the show previously that I felt like a lot of labels were sleeping on this band, so kudos to Matriarch for waking up to their potential. I am very much looking forward to hearing the rest of the record, and if it meets my exacting standards, then who knows? The guys might be finding themselves on the receiving end of an invite to Mean Street Studios. Speaking of my exacting standards, straight after my conversation with Dagon and Azrael, I'm going to be talking about From the Cave to the Grave, the hotly anticipated new record by Werewolves, and then making its return after a week-long absence, my news rant segment, and I would like to mention how touched I was by the smattering of comments in amidst the deluge of great feedback for last week's conversation with Naz Alchemeth. A couple of folks seemed genuinely aggrieved by the fact that the news rant segment had to take a back seat on account of our episode going much, much longer than any of my episodes normally do. But this week I am back, and back with a vengeance. I'm going to be talking about the new Behemoth single, the new single by Sigh. We're going to be listening to new music by Psycroptic and a host more. All depends on what the headlines over at Metal Storm and the Democrats Guide to Rock Music Blabbermouth have to show us. If you're new to the podcast, make sure that you elbow drop the subscribe button from the top rope off of the or on your favorite platform of choice, be that YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Amazon, or wherever else you stream and download your podcast from. Also, make sure that you head over to the Into the Necrosphere Teespring store, pick yourself out a jogger, a t-shirt, a hoodie, or whatever else catches your fancy if you're a true diehard, and make sure that you follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and I post a bunch of stuff on there, invariably about upcoming guests and music I'm listening to and whatnot. Great to be able to interact with people on there, and I've actually met quite a few very interesting folks, particularly I would say on Twitter and on Instagram. But yeah, very, very cool to be able to talk to all of you guys on there. And thanks to everybody who's followed me so far. Once you're done with this week's episode, do not fall to the brink of despair and give yourself over to the predations of drugs and masturbation addiction. Not when you can go out and listen to Everything Went Black, Necromaniacs, Iblis Manifestations, and the Horrible 666 podcast, my brother podcasts, and purveyors of intelligent, interesting, thought-provoking content that pretty much means that by the end of the week you should be completely covered. You don't need to start listening to Fox News or start listening to CNN or any such drivel. We'll tell you everything that you need to know about the world. And I do believe that we've got a couple of potential cohorts joining us in the not too distant future. I know my friend Carl Hikara is going to be launching his own podcast pretty soon. Still waiting on Katie Arizari to do hers. So the community that we're building is getting bigger and bigger, and I think that is fucking cool. You know what else I think is fucking cool? Heathen Deity. And you're about to hear my conversation with Azrael and Dagon of that very band right after this. So how's it going, first and foremost? I see you have embraced the 3 weeks worth of heat that we're going to experience in the UK before it all becomes miserable and rainy and cold again.
We like miserable and cold. It's too warm.
Yeah. No, this is the one country where, like, it in the winter it gets too cold, in the summer it's fucking excruciating. I'm not made for this degree of humidity. It drives me nuts. But
that's what the English do, though, isn't it, mate? We complain no matter if it's too cold or if it's too hot.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what we do. And we haven't really got a great deal of a choice either way.
Yeah. But as I was saying, how are things going? You guys must be still feeling on a bit of a high after Incineration Fest.
Yeah, it was a good thing, it was an experience.
Yeah,
that's one way of putting it. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was. We've been trying to get on Incineration for quite a few years. We've had one failed attempt, as far as I can remember. I think that was in, I think that was 2017. May have been 2018. We was more or less accepted to be on the festival, and then there was let's just call it a slight communication hiccup.
What happened? If you're at liberty to legally expand?
Oh, legally, I don't think I went quite as far as being legal.
Yeah.
It was somebody else, basically.
Oh, okay. That's handy.
It's like, really? The guy sent me an email saying, "Oh, can you send me your logo through?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, can, mate." So found the picture and sent it him through, and he said, well, "What's this?" So, well, what do you mean? What is it? What does it look like? It is the logo. He goes, "Oh, I think there may have been a problem." It's like,
so who do they think that you were?
no, we're getting legal.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. And you said you'd been accepted to be on. What was the process? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? How did that work?
Well, since the mix up then with the band mix up, I just kind of left it, to be honest. I thought, tarnished, can't be bothered.
Yeah.
But then when it was announced that Emperor was playing, headlining, I thought if there was any time to go for it again, this is the time. I mean, It's not very often you get the chance to be on the same bill as Emperor. So go for it. So I just reached out to one of the promoters, a different promoter, I may add this time. Yeah, brilliant. He says, "No problem, you're on."
Awesome. And you guys were on, had you been booked to be on one of the kind of ill-fated COVID attempts at Incineration Fest? Or did those cancellations, I guess those multiple cancellations, did that open or create the opportunity for you to throw your hat in the ring?
No, I may be wrong, but I don't think Emperor was actually announced during the COVID years, were they not? I'm not sure if they were or not.
I don't go to enough shows anymore to keep track of these things.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
The only shows I go to pretty much now are the ones we're playing. But no, I don't think we wasn't announced until it was definitely sure it was all happening.
Yeah.
We was initially announced to be on the Devonshire Arms after party stage. No, I'm not sure if you've ever been to the Devonshire Arms.
I've actually been on stage at the Devonshire Arms.
Have you really?
Yeah, like this was probably 2011, 2012. A friend of mine who I've had on the podcast before, when his band used to play, I always used to do the last song with them, and they played at the Devonshire Arms. Okay. It's like standing on a bunch of stacked up fucking milk boxes.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I think they've done a little bit of modernizing, but not a great deal.
They brought a janitor in for the first time ever to clean the bathrooms, and
yeah, you can actually move your feet from the sticky floor now. But but we agreed to it because Emperor.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, do it. Why not? And then obviously, it would have been absolutely mental in there. It would have been rammed. There would have been people right in your face. It would have been, exactly the kind of thing I love. The kind of thing we all really thrive on. I mean, it's just full on atmosphere. But I think it was a couple of weeks, may have been a month beforehand. We was told that the Dev after show party was just going to be metal DJs and that kind of thing, and we was all going on the Black Heart, which to me was like marvelous. You know,
I was about to say, I mean, that's a nice little bonus.
Absolutely.
Because bigger crowd. Who is on in the? Because I know for anybody who's, and actually the majority of people who listen to this podcast are in the States, so it's probably worth explaining the way that Incineration Fest works. Is it's a festival that they do in Camden, but they do it, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if it had changed this year, but they do it across 3 different venues concurrently. So you basically have your pick of going to watch a band either at the Camden Underworld or when I was there last time, which is when Mayhem was headlining, the Electric Ballroom was the main venue. This time it was the
Roundhouse.
The Roundhouse.
Mm.
The bands playing at the Black Heart. Who were you playing with
for the actual after show? Do you mean? Or?
Well, no. So on the day that you were on in the venue that you were on, who were the bands that were with you?
On the Black Heart, mate, to be honest, I don't know. It was...
Boozer kicked in after you played. You can't remember the rest.
The headlining band... Oh, God. It was a blur. It was all blur. The headlining band was he was an ex-guitarist for... Rotting Christ. He's going to kill me for not remembering his band name. Lucifer's Child.
Gotcha. Okay.
Lucifer's Child came to me instantly. They were headlining the actual festival
stage
at the Black Heart. No, that actual stage at the Black Heart. And then Emperor were going to be on. And then approximately, I think about half an hour, 20 minutes after Emperor finished, we started the after show at the Black Heart.
Yeah.
This year's organization was a lot better than the previous years, I may add. The clashes were non-existent, I don't believe. I know I've been to a couple of incineration festivals before where you literally have to sacrifice 3/4 of a set that you want to see to leg it across Camden to go and find another venue.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sure a lot of people have done that, and there was still a slight aspect to that this time, but nowhere near as much, I don't believe.
Yeah.
That's not saying that I actually saw a lot of bands.
I was just about to say, did you get to see anybody?
Hardly. By the time I got everything set up for us, I saw a little bit of Suda at the Roundhouse.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say the big question: did you get to see Akakaka?
Oh yeah,
yeah, we saw Akakaka. Yes, that was at the Electric Ballroom. There was another band we saw. I saw briefly at the Electric Ballroom. It was a death metal band. I couldn't tell you who the hell it was, to be honest. And I think that's all I saw.
A lot of people are going to hate me for saying this potentially, but I've always felt like the times I've been to Incineration Fest, the death metal bands seem to be, they don't fit into the vibe of the festival overall. Both times I've been to Incineration Fest, they've always felt to me to be lack of a better phrase, a piss break opportunity. That's about it. And time to go to the bar. And I mean, they've had good death metal bands that have played there, and those bands on a different bill, I think would go over really well. But just in that setting, it's like it's almost it's like sticking a. I remember back when I saw Slayer for the first time, there was a band called Ellis that opened for them, which I just felt so sorry for them because they were like a female-fronted, slightly heavier than Evanescence type band. And I thought to myself, who did you guys the injury of putting you on this bill? Because everybody here is booing and going crazy, and there's like a full frontal assault on all of your self-confidence happening here. And that's about all you're going to take away from this.
People just want to see Slayer, don't they, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a similar thing happening this year. Did you notice that? The headliners for the Electric Ballroom, I think it was originally Dark Funeral, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, it was originally Dark Funeral, and then they backed out for whatever reason, and Unleashed was made the headliner of that stage.
Yeah.
And then I think it was literally a couple of days. It wasn't a week. I really don't think it was a week. Before then, they backed out. I think one of the band members had some kind of accident and broke his something bone.
He heard they were going to follow Acrococker, and he mysteriously slipped on some ice.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe Quayle was filling in.
Yeah.
Your face is blank.
It is blank.
Do you know what that is?
Fuck no idea.
No. She's a female cellist, I believe.
Exactly why I don't know it.
As well, yes. The only reason I know this because me and my girlfriend went to see Wardruna, and she was supporting them.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And don't get me wrong, it's not my thing in the slightest. But she was good at what she does, and she went down really well with Wardruna.
Yeah,
as you can imagine. Following, I think she followed Akacock.
Worst thing you could possibly inflict on somebody.
So
I was about to say, so did Akacock, did they come out on stage in the suits and things like that?
I don't know.
Full war gear, and the way that they always do.
Close enough to find out. To be honest, did you? Or?
They wore suits, yeah.
I was about to say them in suits playing their best stuff. I would not want to follow that, not at all.
We missed the first song, so I don't know if they had the ties and things on, but there was wearing shirts and things like that. Yeah.
As it should be. I've been nagging all of the guys in the band that I know about that for years and years and years. I'm so glad they brought that back, because it's such a distinct trademark of theirs. Like, to take it away just feels to me like it's such a miss. It's like if Iron Maiden went on tour and said, "Well, this Eddie malarkey, fuck that. We don't need him on stage.
We'll get rid of Eddie. We don't need to."
Yeah, exactly. It's just not. There's just certain things you don't mess around with. Guar goes on tour and says, "No more of these masks and the blood. We're just going to be four guys in t-shirts and shorts.
No more cuttlefish and fake blood."
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the important question about your Incineration Fest experience. Did you at the very least throw a pair of soiled underwear at Ishan and say, "Jackie from Into the Necrosphere sends his regards"?
We didn't actually get to see Emperor.
Oh yeah, because you guys were busy setting up.
He was setting up at the time.
He was attempting to be professional at the time, Jack.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, and I know I throw an awful lot of shade almost on a weekly basis now at Ishan, but they're still a good band. I don't like Prometheus. I don't like anything Ishan makes, but In the Nightside Eclipse,
are you telling me you don't like
Welcome to Dusk? Hey,
you don't like Ha Ha?
I do like Aha. I don't like anything that Ishan does. Anything Ishan did post 9 Equilibrium is trash, in my opinion.
I don't think Prometheus is a proper Emperor album anyway. It's more of...
It's not...
his thing.
Well, it was kind of the start of his solo stuff, I think. And then, it was also the record that took Samoth out of the equation. And as I've said many times, I think you can hear that Samoth is he's kind of the ingredient X. He's the guy that balances out some of those more progressive tendencies that Ishan has, with something a little hard-edged and badass. And you can hear that especially in the stuff that he's recorded for The Wretched End and even Zyklon. I mean, Zyklon had the unfortunate distinction of being one of the coolest, at one point, one of the coolest death metal bands around, that somehow managed to perform or put on some of the most boring live shows I've ever seen in my entire life. Like no question. I have sat waiting for trains and been more exhilarated than that. So,
I mean, I don't really follow death metal. Really, I'm more of a black metal guy. But I've seen Zyklon a couple of times. Once in Oslo and once in Sheffield, and I've enjoyed their set both times. Really good.
Musically superb. I just felt I was so defeated after I saw them the first time because I was so excited and looking forward to it so much, and there was just no urgency, no energy, just nothing coming from the stage. It was literally like watching guys in a practice room who aren't really in the mood to be there.
Yeah.
There's certain bands that you can just go and see that just blow you away. And there's also, you don't really even need to know a great deal about them or be familiar with their music. But there are some bands, I imagine Zyklon are one of them, that you really need to know what you're listening to and know what you're listening for.
Yeah.
To maybe appreciate what's happening.
Well, they had a reasonable amount of groove in their music because, again, and you can hear that on the Wretched End as well. They got fantastic songs. It's just in the delivery. The delivery is just so tepid, and so it was always. I mean, I probably saw them about 8 or 9 times because they were also opening up for tons and tons of bands. I think I went to go see a couple of their
by number kind of thing,
yeah, more or less. Well, they do the things that I despise most on stage. Smiling. Dedicating songs to people, talking amongst themselves. I mean, that sort of thing. That sort of thing just kills me. Don't break the connection with the audience. Yeah. Don't turn your back on the audience. That fucking drives me insane. No smiling, none of that sort of thing. Keep like you watch the masters at work, all of the best live bands, they never do stuff like that. They always keep you, you're always engaged. You're always part of what's going on. Marduk, I know, you're a big fan of them as well. I mean, as much as I'm not so keen on some of the selections they have for their actual set, but the way they deliver it is fantastic. Second to none.
Relentless.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely relentless.
Yeah. I mean, I still think they should mix it up a little bit. I don't like just speed on, especially at a live show, because if you've got even a slight hitch in the sound, it all just starts to become a bit of a garbled mess. And the last time I saw them play, as soon as they played the Blonde Beast, like the crowd's energy just lifted like exponentially. And I couldn't, I was standing there thinking to myself, like, surely if I'm on stage, I pick up on this and go, okay, well, we've also got Accuser Opposer. We've got To the Death Said True. We've got a bunch of stuff we can throw in that's like this. Why don't we just mix this up a little bit? But either way, they know how to put on a show that keeps you engaged and keeps you mesmerized. That's the thing that and I'm going to hopefully see you guys at that Cosmic Void show, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that was one of the first things that really kind of grabbed me. As soon as I listened to True English Black Metal for the first time, I sat thinking to myself, man, this stuff would sound so fucking cool live. Everything from the first, I mean, literally from first track to last there's a real kind of sense of groove, and there's something that you can, even if you never heard the band before, if you were to stand in a room and you guys were to deliver it with I'm sure the energy that you have, it's gonna hit you in the face, and you're gonna go, Jesus, I need to check this out in a bit more detail.
Going back to the speed thing you was just talking about, that's the reason why, I mean, the album True English Black Metal, it's so varied in styles, in tempos, everything. We did that on purpose. We could have so easily have made a blasting album from start to finish, but that would have been too easy, maybe even forgettable.
Yeah,
day and age. We try to incorporate a lot of different tempos, different grooves, melody, all that stuff.
It takes the effect away, doesn't it? We've had this conversation many, many times with many, many different bands. If you're just blasting all the way through a song, at the end of listen to it for a while, and then the speed and the tempo and the blasting just has no effect anymore, because it's all monotonous. It's all the same.
You get used to it, yeah.
Yeah, it ends up just being is nothing new.
Yeah, it's like driving a car, right? If you've got a car that's got a significant amount of power in the engine, the thrill comes from putting your foot down for that split second. But once you hit a certain speed and you just stay there, eventually it just becomes like, oh, well, this is just how fast I'm going now. It's the thrill of when that kind of kicks in. Eccles is a superb example of a band that knows how to bring that speed in at just the right time. Like Ephialtes, that I've played so many times on this podcast, the way that, most people should know that song, but the way that builds up, and then like when it finally kicks in, it's so incredibly powerful. But it's because of the dynamic that went all the way up to that point.
It's the dynamics. It's the most important thing, I feel.
Yeah.
Song, it was so easy just to blast from start to end. No dynamics. It's kind of boring.
It's extremely boring. But yeah, you guys like I said, one of the things that struck me most about the record is a real mastery of dynamics. One of the standout bits being for me that really cool coda at the end of Burn in Satan's Name, where you've got the clean vocals, and it's like it feels like the song is built up to it, but at the same time it kind of catches you by surprise. And I thought it was if I think about that record, that's the first thing that comes to mind is that bit, because it's just such a great way to start the record, but it's also a great song, I think, to kind of summarize what you're about to hear for the remaining, however many tracks.
That song's had so many rewrites over the years. It's unbelievable. It's one
that section wasn't in at the beginning, was it?
No. It's a song we used to play live before we took a hiatus. And it was, we've always liked that song. So it was a no-brainer that it was going to go on the album. But it needed looking at rewriting certain parts, changing the dynamic of certain parts as well. And it is what it is now.
So I was gonna say, I mentioned that a lot of folks that listen to this podcast are in the States, and I know from the feedback I've had since I reviewed True English Black Metal that a lot of people started discovering you guys after hearing the review on the podcast. But just so that folks kind of know, because I think I mentioned it on the review, can you tell us the story about how it has taken us this long to get a first definitive full length from Heathen Deity? And for the record, by my count, it's about 21 years. So you got a lot of storytelling to do.
Personal life got in the
Go on then. Go on.
We was a specific lineup at the time, and certain people, myself included, decided they wanted to see the world, things like that. Personal life just got away. We went on a hiatus in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Directly after the Infernal Damnation Festival, pretty much, in Electroworks at London.
Yeah. Basically, our drummer, Sathan, moved to Norway, and I followed suit a few months later, which left the band a little bit
with pie. So,
with its sole spiritual mentor to guide it through.
Everybody's buggered off to Norway to chase the black metal dream, and little old me sat in Blighty going, now what?
I know.
And then it was all the way up to 2014 before you guys got together again?
I think it was a little bit. We never lost contact.
No.
Me and Az are the, I dare say back then is definitely the core kind of members. Now we do the large majority of the writing between us. But we never lost contact back then. And then
I carried on working on some of the album songs.
Yeah. You carried on developing the songs. We all had our own other projects and other musical endeavors just to keep things ticking over. And did you move back to England before we started doing kind of like covers and ALDORFREA covers and that kind of thing, just to kind of get back into it? Was that while you still in Norway, or?
No, I was back, wasn't I? I think.
How long did you live in Norway for?
It was about 9 years.
Oh, really? That's quite a spell. What's out of curiosity, what is life like in Norway in comparison to where do you live now?
I live home in Chesterfield, UK.
Yeah. So in comparison to the mean streets of Chesterfield, what is life like in Norway?
Norway's pretty. It's a very pretty place, but they look after their own. So anybody that goes to migrate there, they can have some problems. Do you know what I mean? If it's getting the foot actually in the door, that's the hardest part.
Is that true? Apologies for the interruption, but is that true of the music scene generally, or are you referring just to kind of life overall, like work and that sort of thing?
Life in general, really. Musically, while I was there, I carried on a band I started in 2003 called Ethereal Forest. And that was my thing. That was with the ex-Heathen drummer Savan, who left for Norway first.
And what is like when you're on the ground there? What is the music scene like? Because I think there's a lot of people that romanticize the Norway as this bastion of black metal.
No,
I was just about to say I've always kind of looked at that skeptically, because it's, I guess at one point maybe, but it's not like you see the volume of bands coming out of Norway today that are coming out of Poland or coming out of France or coming out of places like, even Australia.
They have a healthy metal scene, but it's more Judas Priest, Manowar, Iron Maiden, those kind of bands.
Yeah.
Not a lot of black metal, really.
I was about to say more like Kvelertak, which I know would be one of Dagon's favorites. So,
sorry,
I say more like Kvelertak, which I know would be one of Dagon's favorites.
Why would you say that?
I'm just fucking with you. That is such an overrated pile of shit band. I can't stand it.
To be honest, a long time ago when they first came out, an old friend of ours, she used to manage us, called Patricia Thomas. She actually had, I can never pronounce it, Kvelertak, I think, yeah. She had them on her books when they first started, before they got famous, before they got lost up their own arses or whatever. There was literally maybe two songs I didn't actually think sounded too bad. It kind of felt newish, if you know what I mean. It was different. I can't pronounce them, and I'd probably bastardize the name of the song anyway. But yes, thank you for bringing that up, and please continue.
I am primarily talking about Oslo and that area. I don't know what it's like scene-wise in Bergen or Trondheim, because I've been to Bergen, but I've never been on a night out there.
Yeah.
But Oslo itself, there is a metal scene there, obviously, a metal and rock scene, but it's not really black metal. It's not extreme metal, to be fair.
Yeah.
He did bump into a few, shall we say, famous faces, didn't you? While he was there?
A few people.
Who did you meet?
I've met the old Dimmu Borgir drummer. What's his name? Shudalv.
Mm-hmm.
I met Colbrand.
Nagash as well, was it?
I've met Nagash. I've met Vortex Seaman.
Yeah. Who has when it comes to clean vocals, one of the most incredible voices ever.
Great.
And I'm surprised I don't hear more of him on records anymore. Like at one point, it felt like he was guesting on fucking every record that was coming out.
He's always Garm's replacement.
Yeah.
Garm would form the band. He'd replace him.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, though, when you were in Bergen, did you, a little bit like the Eye of Sauron, could you feel the evil coming from Gaul's house? The closer you came to it, like, it's possessing me.
Yeah, it's a strange place.
Yeah. As I said, the closer you get to his house, the more the flowers have died and the trees have withered. But yeah, what a fucking cool guy, by the way. And we'll get into this in a second, but I 100% contend. To me, there was a real paradigm shift in black metal when they brought out when Gorgoroth brought out Twilight of the Idols and Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam, and it had all of the. It almost was like a second explosion of controversy. Not quite as extreme as guys being murdered, but with the antics and stuff on stage.
Oh yeah,
I felt like that kind of sparked an interest in that style of black metal again. But I think what it also led to, I feel like for a lot of bands, and I'm increasingly finding this, the more people I speak to on the podcast, I get this impression that was a real tipping point for the scene going in the direction that it's gone. Much more aggressive, much darker. Much bleaker. Yeah, exactly. All of the operatic fucking sniveling rubbish. Like bands like I don't know whether you'll remember this, but bands like Dismal Euphony. And all these bands that like Morgan from Marduk once described it best to me. It's like, nerds sitting beside the river weeping. It's basically like, it was that style of band. All of that, like Gorgoroth seemed to just wipe that off the face of the map.
They added the danger back to black metal again, didn't they?
Yeah.
They added the danger element back to it. Back in the 90s when you used to go to see, I can remember going to see Marduk at Bradford Rio, and there was no railings, there was no protective anything. It was at the stage, and if Legion went down to shake your hands got ripped to shit on his spikes.
Yeah. And you're like fighting with Legion. Gorgoroth had the perfect aesthetic though. When at that time with the lamb's heads and things like that.
Yeah,
it was just perfect.
I remember seeing them at the Camden Underworld. They played with 1349, and 1349 were good. But I remember when Gorgoroth came out, I mean, it was just a whole different vibe, And they started off with was that first song of Twilight of the Idols. The one where he's like, praise Satan at the end. I mean, just genius. And then there's one great track after the other. I mean, they were also in a period, especially those two albums. It was such like a creatively fertile time for them. And then devastatingly, the fucking trash that they made when King and Gaul left that band. I mean, it's unspeakably bad. I would be, if I were Infernus, I'd be fucking ashamed to put that out under the name Gorgoroth.
Yeah.
I do like Pest's vocals. Pest as a vocalist, I do think is a very distinctive, and I think is a really good vocalist. Musically, we're
gonna have to agree to disagree there, but I get it. I know other people that like it as well.
You don't like Pest vocals?
No, I hate it. I can't stand it.
Have you seen them live with Pest on vocals? Now, no. Ignore the studded codpiece, and ignore the full on bondage gear and the spiky neck restraints. Just the vocal.
It's too shrill for me. When it comes to black metal, and you'll probably have picked this up if you listen to the podcast and you see the kind of stuff I like. When it comes to black metal, I like those voices that sound completely untethered from humanity. Like, to me, Mortus, Attila, those two are the absolute elite. Goliath of Panzerfaust is fast becoming one of my favorite vocalists. I think Nas does a phenomenal job on Ecclese, on especially that last Ecclese record. I think who else? Gaul to me is that's like almost as good as it gets, because it sounds extremely distinct. It's kind of controlled, but it's kind of chaotic at the same time. if you understand what I mean.
I think the worst thing Gorgoroth have put out is the last album, that Instinct. What's it
Instinct Bestialis, I think it was called.
That wasn't Gorgoroth.
Yeah, Instinct Bestialis.
That was Gorgoroth. Parts of Gorgoroth with session musicians, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Well, it was like when I heard the record they put out after Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam, it was one of those rare scenarios where I had to go back and double check, like, did I get the right CD? Was there like a mistake in the packaging here or something like that they put in something else? Because this doesn't sound like the band that just did, Wound Upon Wound and, all of those great songs. That's actually the first song on, is that the first song on Twilight of the Idols? I think so. Anyway, they did that did those great tracks, and it's like, this just sounds fucking awful.
Satan.
Procreating Satan. Wound Upon Wound, I think, is the first one on Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam.
I think what I liked about Quantos is the fact that Infernus was writing for the band again. The guitar work was intricate. It was, I find it quite beautiful, that album. But it's all down to opinion at the end of the day.
No, definitely.
That was the one with the skull on the front, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You've now, Jackie, you've got to like that because of one specific vocal. Rebirth of Gorgoroth. Oh.
Okay, I'll tell you what I will do though. I'll go back and I'll give it another listen. Shocking things have happened this year. Watain made a record that I enjoyed. I've despised everything they've made before. Dark Funeral made a record I enjoyed. Didn't like anything they did before. So you never know. I was actually even go as far as to say I didn't like the first couple of Norgevel singles that came out, but this new one that they put out must be about 2-3 days ago. I was listening to that. I was going, fucking hell, where did that come from? This is top-notch stuff.
I like Watain.
Dominator.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, very, very cool. But yeah, as I said, the first, I think they put out 2 singles prior to this one. The first 2 just didn't grab me. And then this new one, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking brilliant. And Watain, again, just nothing they've done has ever really caught my attention much. But then this new record comes out, I was like, wowzers, this is some serious shit, this. Speaking just of the old god, have you heard this new atrocity that Satyricon have put out as their new full-length record? I lasted a minute and a half and I switched it off. I was like, I can't listen to this crap anymore.
You sent me the link to that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And
I could be struck down by lightning, and then if this is the last shit that I listen to, it's not worth it.
I think I lasted about 20 seconds.
I liked it. I like ambient, dark ambient kind of music, experimental music, and I liked it for what it was. But I don't think it's a Satyricon album.
No.
I think they should have called it One Graven.
Yeah, I well, definitely not Satyricon. I mean, it's just. I mean, I didn't much. I hated the last Satyricon record as well. Deep Calleth Upon Deep, I thought was terrible. And I was like one of the few people. I actually held out all the way to the record just prior to that. Like there was still parts on that record I could listen to and I could enjoy. And a lot of folks I know, tapped out well before that. But Deep Calleth Upon Deep, when I heard that saxophone, I was like, right, that's that. There's too many other bands that I like much more. It's only so much time in my life for to incorporate this kind of mediocre drivel into it. But I wanted to ask you guys, because you've been observers of a lot of change in the black metal scene just generally, right? Because you started at a time that was, I think, incredibly exciting for English black metal. You had. And it was also around the time when a band like Akrakoka was kind of starting to really ascend and become the titanic entity that they've been. And the genre, as we've just said now, has changed a lot. We've spoken about Gorgoroth. What do you guys, as guys who've been in the scene and been around for a long time as musicians, what do you think of these changes and of where the genre is right now?
Well, when we first started doing what we do, I mean, our first gig outside of our hometown No, it was maybe the third gig, actually. We played with Hecate Enthroned in Akakock at a festival.
Bradford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bradford?
It's called the Fire Fest.
Mm.
But back then there was really nowhere to play. You know, not like there is now. I mean, now you've got promoters coming out the woodwork and stuff, but back then it was so difficult, and every band was isolated to themselves. You know, of course now you've got social media and all this stuff going on, and it's a lot easier to make contact with other people. But back then it was so difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, but basically that. There wasn't a great deal of places we could play. We kind of fell on his feet a little bit by befriending the Hecate lads, and they invited us on a few shows with them. I think we learned quite a bit from how they operated. But yeah, regarding how things have changed up to now, I'm not really the person to ask, to be honest, regarding the scene now. I don't really follow the music, black metal music scene now. Ironically, the most I've really listened to new music is on your podcast, to be honest.
I was just about to say you can't quite say that, because I know you listen to the podcast. So
yeah, exactly.
And I play a lot of new stuff on that.
But apart from that, unless I don't actively go out and seek new bands, I don't think about looking for new music. If somebody sends me a link to something, say, "Hey, listen to this," obviously I'll give it a shout. But I'm not really the person to ask about how the scene is. Maybe I'm a little bit self-centered with all that kind of thing, but Azrael is the guy you need to speak to regarding that.
I wouldn't say that. I can't remember last time I went to a show that wasn't ours.
Well, that's I think also partly comes with age. I there was a time when I was going to 2 or 3 shows a week, you know, and then the constant fucking ringing in my ears and fatigue and hangovers got a little much, and you start to scale back on that a little bit. And I mean, nowadays it's going to be probably single digits per year. I mean, I think so at the moment, I want to go to Cosmic Void because I want to see you guys and meet you in person. I want to meet Nars in person. And I'm going to go to Panzerfaust when they play with Uada. I don't like Uada, but I'm very keen to. I've already spoken to Brock. We're going to hopefully have a couple of beers after they've done playing, and I do want to see them live. And then my other band that I've definitely got tickets for, as necro as it gets, Prodigy in July. So, and I'm not ashamed of that, because I've seen Prodigy twice before and they were fucking incredible both
Where
times.
have you seen them?
Brixton Academy.
Yeah.
And I've already warned my fiance, because she's never seen them before. I said that this is one band, most likely I'm firstly going to be very drunk. Secondly, I'm going to be 100% involved in whatever is going on physically on their dance floor. So.
They are amazing. I've never seen them live, but they are amazing. It's going to be weird them going out without Keith.
Yeah, if you've seen them live, it's actually not that big of a thing. He's very he was always, both times I saw them, he's very in the background. Like Maxim is the dude on stage. You know, he's the guy that talks to the audience. He's the guy that gets the audience fired up. I was the last time I saw them was at Alexandra Palace, and I had kind of I moshed my way to the very front of the show. And I mean, I literally you could sort of slap his hand because they didn't have much of a barrier, and he kind of comes into the audience quite a lot. But the thing that's so cool about them, it's kind of the same thing that I love from, when we getting back to talking about some of these black metal bands. It's this craziness and this chaos and this sort of orchestrated fucking anarchy that's taking place on stage. And it feels like you don't know what's going to happen next. That's one of the things I loved about bringing it back to our vibe, seeing you guys with AV doing the Mayhem cover. it kind of had that same feel to me. Like I always love multiple vocalists on stage, and just, as I said, it feels like anything can happen. You know, it's just this craziness, this like controlled anarchy and this controlled chaos that I just love. It's like that to me is how all shows need to be.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
There was very little planning. It was, hey, do you fancy doing it? Yeah, go on then. Okay, here's a mic. Let's see what happens.
Spontaneous.
You are?
Spontaneous.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I only asked AV initially, and he asked the vocalist from Devastator to do it as well. And before we went on, he asked if that was okay. I was like, well, yeah, why not, you know? See what happens. Let's go for it. And I never even asked him if he even knew the song, to be honest.
I was about to say, you at least needed to do a sanity check to see, do you actually know the vocals to this, or the lyrics to this?
Just do it. Let's see what happens. Let's go for it. There were a couple of moments during that where I kind of stepped back a little bit to let those two do a little bit of something. And then the little bit of something didn't really happen. So I kind of tried to step back in quickly.
Yeah, to intervene.
But, it was like, okay. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that. It went quite well.
Yes, but going back to your question.
What was the question?
Don't go to that many gigs. It's mainly because of family and things like that. But I think the scene, the UK scene, is a lot stronger than in a better position than it was 20 years ago. Definitely, there's more bands, there's more solidarity, and a lot of talent.
I've always been very. I'm trying to find the right word for it. I wouldn't say puzzled, or my observation of the UK as somebody who has followed UK culture for the vast majority of my life, be it, you know, comedy or be it music, it's sad for me to see at a macro level the malaise that is set in culturally in this country, because you look at this place as a country that set the trends. You know, you had Led Zeppelin coming from here, the Beatles, the Stones, Black Sabbath. Then you had, you know, Sex Pistols, Motorhead, Venom, you know, Iron Maiden. You know, you've got tons and tons of those bands. On top of that, you then, like, as an aside, Depeche Mode's going to come from here, Sisters of Mercy and Bauhaus and all these bands. And then I think Bauhaus. And then so it goes on. And then all of a sudden, I'd say around the time that new metal started, it was almost like just everything just fell apart.
Yeah.
And there was just never again a time where the UK was the world leader in sort of setting the trends culturally, John, from a musical perspective.
Yeah, I have to agree. You know, because I mean, I'm going to refer to pop music now.
We've already spoken about Prodigy, so don't worry about that.
All the R&B stuff and all the rap stuff, and that's all predominantly coming from the States.
Yeah.
And is what is big right now. There's not room for much else. I mean, the rock thing, I mean, Iron Maiden is still going, and that kind of thing, but it's always been the same, you know, no, what's the words I'm looking for? It's not promoted as it should be, but they don't really need promoting, do they? Everybody knows who Iron Maiden are.
Well, I think the word you're looking for,
in regard to black metal, though, here
is we'll bring it full circle there in a second, but those bands aren't celebrated. So like I mean, another band I left off the list, which is critical, Killing Joke. You know, another band who's, I mean, God, how many bands have they influenced? But that legacy, for whatever reason, is not celebrated. And the only place where I feel that it is celebrated, and maybe this is why it's the only subgenre, not in the mainstream, but it's the only subgenre that seems to be thriving in the UK, is the kind of black metal scene, maybe parts of the death metal scene as well, but definitely the black metal scene, because I feel like it's turned into something that's very open-minded, that sort of pays homage to all of these bands from the UK's past, and then incorporates a lot of those other influences, all of the bands which we have already touched upon, the Scandinavian second wave, all of those sorts of things.
I know what you mean, but I still think the Norwegians have got a lot to answer for with setting the standard within what black metal actually is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people look at the UK and think, oh, it's UK black metal. They all still look towards the Scandinavian bands. I think that's how it's always going to be, in a sense.
I think it's come on a slightly more than if you used to mention to somebody in a random conversation from a different country about UK black metal. Oh, do you mean Cradle of Filth?
Oh yeah, there is that. Of course.
No, not Cradle of Filth. No,
which is not a black metal band.
Well, no.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. But there's something to be said. You were saying about promotion. There's something to be said about, do you really want it to be as promoted as mainstream?
I meant more of the marketing side of things, more than actual promotion.
I mean, I can only speak for myself now regarding the scene and regarding where we are, and yeah, age is a part of it. So it's like how big do you want your band to be, and how much do you want to take it further? Shooting myself in the foot with any with any possible label listening to this, I don't really think I'd want to get any bigger. Regarding, I don't really want to travel abroad. I don't want to get to a point where we'd be touring. I don't think I'd be able to tour now.
And you've got a family and things like that to think about.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like I can only speak personally for my own situation. I think there's enough younger bands doing that, and power to them. But I'm perfectly happy with what we're doing.
I am as well.
I'm more than happy with what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think with the small, well, not small, the select shows that we do, and we do pick and choose the shows that we do very carefully. The shows that we do, I think that adds a certain element of that early 90s mysticism back into it again.
The underground,
where we are underground, but playing. I've spoken about this before with other people about. There was a time when bands were playing every couple of months. You knew damn well this band was going to be playing with this band at this venue,
yeah.
doing the circuit, doing everything else, oversaturated, overdone.
Same band.
It didn't make it special anymore. It didn't have that mysticism that black metal should have.
And then you've got someone like me who's undoing that mysticism one episode at a time.
You're totally fucking it up for us, Jackie.
I mean, you know what? you make a very valid point there, though, because I have thought about that many times about as far as the podcast is concerned. It's like when you approach somebody, for example, you think to yourself, are they going to want to have the kind of conversation that I like having on the show? Because I like the mystique. I like not knowing what, you think about Bloodhouse North as an example. I like the fact that, there's very little press that ever gets done around that band, that you have to kind of guess and wonder what's going on in the fucking lunatic mind that could come up with a record like Disharmonium. And I think that's very, very cool. So it is something I do ponder sometimes. What I've tried to do is sort of approach it from a different perspective, that it's not, I don't ever want it to be the conversations I have, I don't want the bands to be presented in a goofy light or in a, and hopefully people have picked this up now after 135 episodes. I would never have somebody on the show and try and make them look stupid, or even after the fact, I will go in and I'll take stuff out that I think is not going to present that band in the best possible light. Because the main reason I do this is because of love of this music. So, everything that I do is about promoting the music, but in a way it's also selfish because it's about promoting the music the way I want the scene to be, the way my idealized vision of the scene.
Well, it's not selfish, is it? I mean, you couldn't do it any other way.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it any other way than what you're doing. And if you did do it any other way, you wasn't being true to yourself, and you're just copying somebody else's format.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we goof around an awful lot on this podcast, but the really goofy, stupid shit that has no place here. But you've also touched on something else that I've thought about recently. We mentioned being in being older, having a family, and things like that. Jason Mendonça once said something very interesting to me. And if people go back and they listen to the episode that I recorded with him, it's actually on there. He was saying that originally the reason that they didn't want to go back to kind of those extreme sort of occult lyrics of, Coranza and Words Ago Unspoken and records like that is, he says, because he's got kids. And he says, how are you a parent and go back and explain the context of some of that insanity to them? So my question to you was, as two guys who I would both assume have families, how is being older, being parents, how is that, if anything, changed the way you approach the music and change the way that you approach lyrical content, songs, your whole image?
If anything, we've got worse.
It's the only way to get rid of the frustration.
More profanity, more everything. I don't. Our art is separate from ourselves at the end of the day. I don't think my children would be interested in listening to my music anyway, because they don't really show any interest at all, really. My eldest is into rap music, so there's that. I don't know.
My daughter's 4. She turned 4 a few weeks ago. She quite likes. She's getting into metal. She's getting into. She quite likes. For some reason, she quite likes Viking metal. I'm not quite sure why. She quite likes early Ammonomorph.
So you listen to the podcast. I can tell you listen to the podcast.
I listened to your last bit, and I totally agreed with you. I sat down and flicking through YouTube, and that was, let's put this on. And again, when you said on your last podcast, to Get in the Ring, it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first thing that came into my mind is like, you have not done a Guns N' Roses tribute.
I heard that.
Have you really done that?
Yeah.
No way. Obviously they didn't. But she likes tracks like Pursuit of Vikings and that kind of thing. And when she was younger, she used to go to the screen and she used to think I was the vocalist, which is all nice and cute and all that kind of thing. She's seen snippets of our videos. She recognizes us. I don't think it's not an issue now. At the moment, it's not an issue. When it comes to the point when she's asking what we're thinking about or what the music's about, I'll explain it to her the best I can at the time, and we'll take it a stage at a time. Basically, yeah. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change the way I'm writing. It's not going to change the subjects I'm writing about. You can't foresee how things will change, or you can't foresee how the reaction she's going to have until it happens, can you? So
yeah. one of the things I find so fascinating about kids is what music they gravitate towards. And it's kind of, again, it's made me reflect on why I gravitated towards the stuff that I gravitated to as well. But, my daughter is 8 now, but, she was starting to like, just through hearing things, and she would tell me if she likes something, and if she doesn't like something, she'd usually either not say anything or tell me I don't like that. But from an early age, her first song that she would repeatedly request was Walk by Pantera. And then, and she would literally sit in the car and just keep repeating the word until I played the song again. It was like, walk, walk, walk. It's like, but nowadays it's like, she's gone in this weird goth direction. It's like Susie and the Banshee, Sisters of Mercy, The Cult, Killing Joke. That's kind of her vibe now. But it's sort of, she heard that on the periphery. I never really played that kind of thing around her. I think I might have listened to Killing Joke once, and she was like, I looked back into the back seat, and I saw her singing along to War Dance, and I was like, "You like that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I love it." And then I started playing her some more stuff. But it is very interesting to me, like the things that they naturally gravitate towards. As you say, there's no rhyme or reason as to why she's interested in, old school Viking metal, but she just seems to gravitate towards that naturally.
That and Aussie, for some reason now she's getting quite into Crazy Train and that kind of thing. Which brilliant, I've got no problem with that. We all started there, didn't we? So
I found my lads tend to follow what their friends are listening to generally. My eldest Morgan, when he was younger, he was into like Kiss and Iron Maiden and all that kind of thing. And then when he started going to school and making friends, it all changed.
I've got no doubt that's going to happen. But
my youngest's favourite song for years and years was The Sound of Silence, the Simon and Garfunkel original, and he knew every word. Now it's all changed, and that's due to making friends at school.
Yeah. He'll go back to that as well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff now. I'm going back to, like, spoken about the song awful lot of times on the show, but "Shake the Disease" by Depeche Mode is like the first song I remember hearing, and I loved it so much. And because those days didn't have a Spotify account or anything, I walked around the house singing it to myself so that I wouldn't forget it. That's how obsessed I became with the song. And then, you go through a period of time in your life where, maybe one style of music is the only thing you're interested in. But you soon circle back to all of it, look upon it with nostalgia and think, where the fuck did all those years go? I'm 42 years old now. I was 6 when I heard Shake the Disease for the first time. 6.
My personal favourites, Never Let Me Down, and in particular the live
fantastic
versions with the 6 bands.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Amazing. So next record, I'm going to assume is not going to take 21 years to record.
We've started recording already.
Awesome.
It's already written, more or less already written.
So timeline on when that may see the light of day?
No, we're not going that far. Because if I know anything about us, well, as you've pointed out, we don't rush things, and we will not rush things. If it's not right, it will be redone. And if we're not happy with it, it will be redone. So if we're aiming to be, we've demoed 6 songs now, with scratch vocals and to kind of flesh them out. We're hoping to start recording the main drums, I think, in August. But if things aren't right, they will be redone.
Yeah,
because we've come this far, and this is personally, this is my life's work. Heathen Deity is my life's work, and nothing and no one will jeopardize what I'm doing or what I'm trying to do. It's not a monetary thing. It's not a time thing to me. It's it couldn't be any more personal. So if it's not right, it will be redone. I don't care whose toes I'm stepping on; it's getting redone.
Yeah,
and Az knows that, and he feels exactly the same way. I'm pretty sure he does.
It's a very personal venture. It's like Luke said. Oh shit! Like he said, it's a life's work.
Yeah.
Can you edit that bit out, please?
I let the cat out of the bag last week, mate.
He didn't want me to use his real name.
Well, so here's the question: using the name Dagon, you're in opposition against Dagon of Inquisition. Will there at some point be some sort of throwdown to decide who gets to use the name exclusively, or are you just going to try and coexist in peace and harmony for now?
Mate, nobody really knows the situation behind that, do they? Honestly, do they really know the whole story behind the Inquisition thing?
No,
I definitely don't, and I don't really want to know. I don't want to be in the same room as him. I have a young daughter. I don't want to even think about that kind of shit, because I know what will probably happen, and it wouldn't be pretty.
Yeah, I must confess, it's one of those things as well where you definitely have to stick that to the back of your mind, because I mean, I fucking love, especially bloodshed upon the Empyrean altar.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
I don't want those records diminished in my mind,
tarnished or anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, let's see that one there.
All right, gents, thank you so much for your time. We will hope, like I said, hopefully I'm going to meet you in person in September. And for anybody that is in the UK that is going to be going to that particular show, hopefully I will see you then as well, because it's very rare that I venture out of the countryside nowadays. So it'll be a rare brush with civilization, I should say.
Looking forward to it. Hope it goes ahead flawlessly, as I'm sure it will do.
Yeah. Well, undoubtedly there'll be some, I'm hoping there'll be some protesters outside, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, yes. We'll be gangs of pubescent teenagers after
gangs of blue-haired Taliban. I have so far, actually, in fairness, not really had any stick from the Ecclesiast interview. As a matter of fact, all of the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Same with Brock of Panzerfaust. And like I said, I mean, I regard both of those guys as friends. So, my view to anybody who's got any issues with me having them on can suck it.
He seemed like a very highly intelligent guy.
Yeah, agree. Very intense, very well spoken, and
very well spoken. He knew what he was talking about. He was very controlled. I pity anybody who has a go.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, it's the same as the Panzerfaust guys. I mean, they're literally like a fucking motorcycle gang when they're roving around. Like, if you see pictures of them on social media, I mean, they look like a bunch of fucking thugs, which I love even more. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time, and we'll speak again very soon.
Absolutely, mate. Thank you.
All right, take care. Burn in Satan's Name by Heathen Deity of true English black metal, which they released last year through Cult Never Dies. Great record, great guys. Massive thank you to them for their time and for the very, very enjoyable conversation. And we will definitely do another one nearer the release of that second record, which I took it as an assurance from the conversation we had. We're not going to wait another 2 decades for it. Now, from a band who moves ever so slowly with putting out new stuff to a band who definitely doesn't waste any time, Werewolves have put out their, or actually I should say, are about to drop their third record. I think by the time that you listen to this, we're about 3 days away. And the record, for those of you that don't know and haven't been paying attention, which frankly is a disgrace, is called From the Cave to the Grave. It's the sequel to last year's near-instant classic, What a Time to Be Alive, and 2020's brilliant The Dead Are Screaming debut. If you're familiar with both of those two records, then you already have a good idea of what to expect from the Cave to the Grave. And the double-tracked chant of Fuck You that is repeated multiple times and kicks off the record on self-help book burning really sets the tone perfectly for the 35-minute death metal assault that is to follow. That assault, I would say, is one which has, since the band's inception, I think, been as forward-facing as it has been subtly reverent to some of the death metal masters that clearly influenced the band. And I speak specifically of Morbid Angel, Hate Eternal, Suffocation, and Deicide. I think the band have been very, very good in incorporating those elements, incorporating the best of those bands, but kind of putting it through their own prism and their own filter. One of the things that I particularly enjoyed about What a Time to Be Alive, and that comes to the fore even more over here, though, is Matt Wilcock, the guitarist's love of black metal and the infusion of black metal darkness and all borderline melody that he's starting to infuse in a lot of the riffing. It was, like I said, previously there, but it was never incorporated to this degree, and I don't think incorporated as well as it's incorporated on this new set of songs. They basically turn up the volume on that aspect of the band's sound, and it really elevates tracks like Oedipus Tyrannus, Pride and Extreme Prejudice, and my favorite song of the record, Harvest of the Skulls, to a place where, in my opinion, I think Werewolves now unintentionally find themselves established as one of the best in the scene by a very significant margin. And it's not just the darker tone of some of the new material that has contributed to that. I think the performances on this record throughout are absolutely second to none. Sam Bean's mastery of vocal dynamics, rhythm, just balls out aggression, I think continues to leave any pretenders in the dust. Matt Wilcock, I've mentioned before, has ascended now to that rare plane of guitarists that you can instantly recognize by virtue of their style, And when I say guitarists like that, if I look at it across the wider metal spectrum, I think of guitarists like Trey Azagthoth, Matt Pike, Dimebag Darrell, guys that literally it sounds like the music is flowing from their fingers, and I think that he is at that point now. And then Dave Haley behind the drums continues to turn in performances that I think are not only staggeringly technical, but I think he continues to show a real appreciation for groove and for subtlety that puts him right up there with my favorite drummers on the planet. Death metal, pretty much like every genre of metal, is having an absolutely insane year in 2022. And Immolation and Undeath have already dropped, some of the best work of their career. I mean, for Immolation, that's a tall order as well, considering their back catalogue. That being said, I think From the Cave to the Grave is something truly special, and for a band that started out basically as a joke, I think it is an incredible testament to the extraordinary talent of its members. I'm going to play my favorite song off the record. I mentioned it before. I can't actually play all that many other songs off the album because it's not released yet. I highly doubt Prosthetic Records, who are putting the record out, is going to take kindly to me dropping anything that you may not have heard just yet, but fear not. If you're listening to this before the album release date, you're going to get to hear it plenty soon. The song in question, of course, is Harvest of the Skulls. Werewolves recently posted a comment about a review for their new record that read, "Anyone reading this review may be under the impression that our latest album is an angry and violent work bereft of mercy. They'd be 1000% fucking correct. I couldn't think of a better way to describe it. The song is Harvest of the Skulls. The record is From the Cave to the Grave, due for release on June 24th via Prosthetic Records, which, depending on when you listen to this episode of the show, is either out already or is about to drop. But either way, make sure that you check it out. And if you head to their Bandcamp, I'll post the link in the description to the podcast, and you buy yourself anything whatsoever, then make sure that you let them know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere that sent you. And if you're a big fan of Werewolves, then get ready to be happy, because Matt Wilcock is my guest on next week's episode of the podcast. Long overdue return for Mr. Wilcock. We spoke about Antichrist Imperium, Werewolves. We actually spoke a bit about Guns N' Roses too, so it's a really fun conversation. I am very sure that if you're a fan of this band, or just a fan of the types of chatter that I have on the show in general, you are going to absolutely love it. Time now, however, to shift gears for the easily triggered and the cowards to run for cover, because it's time for the weekly news rant. Right, first up, we are on Metal Storm, and the first headline catching my attention, Parasite Inc., a new song and video launched. I've never heard of Parasite Inc., but always happy to try out a new band. It says here, Germans Parasite Inc. offer in listening the second single and video and title track of their upcoming record, Cyan Night Dreams. The latter comes out on August 19th via Reaper Entertainment. A statement from the band reads, as the centerpiece of the album, Cyan Night Dreams is one of the songs whose stylistic elements have long been hidden beneath the surface of Parasite Inc., and now for the first time are given their own place in the sound structure. The title track shows a new approach to our songwriting, and at the same time is still unmistakably Parasite Inc. After our first single, I Am, was the fast and furious entry into the album, Cyan Night Dreams now makes it crystal clear that the musical range, or what the musical range the listener can expect on the new disc. I don't even know if I've spelt or if I've pronounced Cyan correctly. Who gives a fuck? Let's hit play. That is almost as shit as the new Creator. It's actually reminds me a lot of the melodies on the new Creator record, just with a keyboard playing them instead of a guitar. Utterly atrocious. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Abysmal. I'm not even going to bother listening to the rest of it. That record reminds me or that song reminds me of one of those opening bands where you just know money has been passed around to the promoter to get the band on the label, or sorry, on the bill, and they seem to crop up everywhere. It's like almost every band you see, like you go through these phases. I don't know whether you guys have it in the States, or it definitely happened here in the UK a lot. You go through these phases where it's the same fucking shit band opening up every single goddamn bill. We had it here with Mystifier. There's an absolutely terrible band out of Brighton called Johnny Truant, which used to crop up on just about every every bill as well, regardless of the genre. I mean, they'd open for black metal bands, death metal bands, thrash bands. It didn't matter, and they were one of the worst bands ever. Like no by no small margin. I think I may have told this story already, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I saw them opening for Anthrax once, and I think they were about 2-3 songs in, and the crowd just was not feeling it. This was in the London Astoria, which, if anybody has been in the London Astoria, you know there's a bit of an echo in the venue, especially when it's quiet. So if somebody yells out something to the people on stage, you can hear it quite easily. So anyway, they finished their second or third song, and the crowd is totally silent. I mean, they're fucking deader than fried chicken. And somebody yells out from the or the guy, the dude on stage, the vocalist says, "Do you guys want to hear another song?" And somebody randomly shouts out from the audience, "You suck and you're gay," which, you know, you wouldn't say that nowadays. It's like the most juvenile fucking thing you can possibly yell out to somebody. But this Johnny Truant dude takes this like he takes it as a complete and utter insult. He's furious. He's like, "Who said that? Who said that? You may think I'm gay, but I'm not. This song is for you." I'll never forget that as long as I live. I mean, the greatest example of how to not handle on-stage heckling I've ever seen in my life. But like I said, I mean, their music was so fucking bad. Psychroptic offer a new single. Psychroptic, of course, featuring the drum playing of Dave Haley, who is also of Werewolves fame and The Amenta, and a host of other bands. A fucking top dude. He's been on the podcast before. I'm a big fan of Psychroptic, generally speaking. It says here, Psychroptic are premiering one more new single from their upcoming full-length Divine Council, due out on August 5th. The track Exodus is available for streaming in the fore of a official lyric video. God knows who wrote the fucking copy there. But anyways, let's hear what Psychroptic have churned out this time round. I dare say, old chap. I did the English accent there because I dare say it popped up as my preamble there. But I dare say, Psychroptic sounds like they have rediscovered their technical death metal roots, but in a good way. I mean, I'm not a fan of technical death metal, as you well know, but I have always been a fan of Psychroptic. They are technical, but they very, very riff orientated, and most of the songs are very catchy. I felt like, as the Kingdom Drowns, which was their last record, I felt like it got away a little bit too much from that, and maybe went a little too much in the direction of more typical songs, maybe more thrash influenced songs. And it, regardless, it went away from Observant and Symbols of Failure, which have typically been my favorite Psychroptic records. I also really like the Inherited Repression. But I'm feeling the direction that they've taken. Yeah, we'll give it a few more seconds. That's fucking excellent. And I'm not mad at that keyboard that I heard doing like kind of the blasty bit either. I think that is fucking super cool. Like how the low vocals and the high vocals contrast. Dave sounds superb. Everything there just sounds top notch. By the way, I also noticed, and I should have known it was going to come because I used the goddamn fucking phrase so many times. But I noticed a couple of comments throwing in top notch as an additive, and I just want to say I regard that as a living tribute. So thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. Hierophant releasing Death Siege record in August. The Italian metal bringers Hierophant are proud to unveil the very first track taken from the upcoming album Death Siege. The new long player is set for worldwide release on August the 26th, 2022 via Season of Mist underground activists. The title song, which is accompanied by a fierce music video, is now streaming via the official Season of Mist YouTube channel. Let's check this shit out. I'm not so sure about that. Those vocals at the beginning sounded dreadful. I wouldn't isolate my vocal track out like that. Were either the lads from Hierophant or whoever it is that's singing for them. The riff is okay. I felt the song started to take shape a little bit when the vocals kicked in and like the actual song started. But I also feel like they seem to be dining on one idea as far as the main riff is concerned, just a little too long. I mean, it's 1 minute 7 seconds now, and it's just a variation of that main riff. And that main riff is very simplistic. It doesn't sound like something that, again, it comes back to what I've said before about raising the bar, standards increasing every single year. If you hear some of the shit that comes out nowadays, like, new Panzerfaust, I heard a band, I posted about it actually today on Instagram as well. They are called, the name is going to escape me now, Werewolves out of New Zealand. I mean, Jesus Christ. Werewolves can't be releasing records and then, Hierophant expecting to be on the same level. And, it's all subjective at the end of the day. I absolutely know that. So it may well be that somebody goes, that Werewolves is a load of shit and Hierophant is the band for me. I just can't say I agree with you on that one. I'll give it another 30 seconds. I'm not ready to write this off just yet. I think it could potentially be cool. But so far I'm a little iffy as to whether or not it's my cup of stro rum. There was a brief flickering there where I had held out a little bit of hope, but yeah, like I said, I'll definitely listen to the whole thing, but so far I'm not entirely convinced. Let us carry on. As I lay crying, split with drummer, boo-hoo. Mantar streaming new track, I'm not going to bother. Wesson Will, new album announcement. I think, wasn't Wesson Will or Wessington, and only parents will know this, but wasn't that some place in Frozen? In which case I don't want to listen to the song because I don't want to be reminded of Frozen in any way, shape or form. When Meadow first heard my daughter, when she first saw that pile of fucking crap, I was forced to watch it with her 12 times in the space of about 2 or 3 days, and I vowed never again. After that, anytime that she came to visit, I just said Daddy's TV no longer plays Frozen, sorry. Let's move on to the next headline. Sigh will put out Cheeky record this summer. I have never been able to understand the appeal, the widespread appeal, I should say, of Sigh. I know for a lot of people, this is, if you were to do like top 10 black metal bands, I should say, this band is in that list for sure. I have never felt that way. They were not in my top 50. They probably wouldn't make my top 100. But I am always open to being convinced otherwise. I don't feel as strongly about them as I felt about Watain and Dog Funeral, and those two bands convinced me this year. So you never know. Let's see what it says here. It says on August the 26th, Japanese outfit Sigh will unleash new studio album entitled Cheeky. Joining the band for this release are Frederick Leclerc of Creator, plus US drummer Mike Heller of Fear Factory, along with an appearance by longtime member Satoshi Fujinami on bass. Cheeky was recorded at multiple studios and mixed mastered by Lasse Lemert at LSD Studios in Germany. Immerse yourself in Sigh's new world through the first single, Meionaka no Kai, and the accompanying illustrated video from animator extraordinaire Kostin Shiorinu. Let's go ahead and immerse ourselves. That is fucking atrocious. I mean, I thought I was about to listen to a black metal band, not some auto-tuned horse shit that sounds like the final song of some fucking obscure anime that only an incel beta male will spend their time pontificating over and watching. That is dreadful. Absolutely fucking dreadful. I mean, I'll give it its due. I think the production on my headphones sounds spectacular, but Jesus Christ, that sucks. Let's. I'll give it a few more seconds. Maybe there's a change at some point, but so far, it's definitely not doing it for me. There's a word for that in science. It's called fucking bullshit. I mean, that vocalist sounds like he's taking the piss. It doesn't sound like somebody who's done it, who's made a serious attempt at black metal vocals. That is fucking total crap. I'm sorry. I know there may be Psy fans here that tell me otherwise, but that is a complete load of shit. Let's hope Behemoth can do better. They are up next. It says here, Behemoth streaming another track from upcoming album. I think Evan gave the first single a resounding boring. I wonder whether this new single is going to be any better. It says here, Behemoth have revealed another track from their forthcoming 12th studio album, Opus Contra Naturam, which is set to arrive via Nuclear Blast on the 16th of September 2022. The latest single, Off to War, accompanied by yet another evocative official video, directed by Paul Sundstrom and Eric Sundstrom, is available for streaming down under. For streaming down under, I was just about to say, are they talking about Australia? No. It means streaming down below. Frontman Adam Nurgle-Darsky comments, militant times bring militant music. We're increasing the tempo with our new single, Off to War, one of my personal favorites from the new record. The song has a killer punk section, one of the greatest Behemoth leads of all time, and a nice extreme metal twist at the end. A true sonic tornado in times of confrontation. Enjoy it, legions. I have not enjoyed much by Behemoth for the last two records. But as long as they keep away the orphanage choir, and I don't have to hear any children on any of their songs go, Jesus Christ, ever again, then we're already a step towards recovery. I'm not mad at that. Not at all. I think it sounds dark. It sounds way more black metal than this band has sounded for a very long time. I like the vocals. I think the riff is great. I'm down with that without a doubt. I know Marco hates the drums on these new tracks, and I think he's generally not a fan of Behemoth's drum production, period. But like I said, I don't mind that very much. I mean, at least in my headphones, it sounds cool. But I will say, these Bowers and Wilkins cans I've got on right now, they do make most things sound very good. So if you're ever in the market for a new set of Bluetooth headphones, and you like over-ear headphones, which I'm a very big fan of, then I could not more strongly, as a matter of fact, recommend that you look at the Bowers and Wilkins PX7s. They are fucking great. I'm going to listen to a few more seconds of this. Yeah, you can count me down. I'm definitely interested in hearing the rest of the record now. That is fucking cool. I like that song very much. We move on. Conan detail new full-length. Stoner doom metal juggernauts Conan share details in connection with their new full-length effort, Evidence of Immortality, due out on 19th of August. It was recorded and mixed by Chris Fielding, mastered by James Plotkin, and also sees former band member Dave Perry performing on Grief Sequence track. To taste a first piece of the new outing, check out a music video for the Levitation Hoax single. They are a band that has been hugely hyped and recommended to me by a great many people that absolutely swear by them. Everything I've heard so far, I've always liked. They've never been a band I've been compelled to spend any extended period of time with, but I have always liked what I've heard. So I'm reasonably optimistic about Levitation Hoax. I see they've got the Bandcamp embedded file or player here, and they also have the music video. So let's check out the music video for Levitation Hoax. That is for sure another song and another record that you can count me down for. That is fucking great. It's heavy as a goddamn fatso who's been gorging on Pizza Hut for 9 months every single day of their life. I like the production. I like the fact that, they don't do the stock standards, Stoner Doom thing where it's just, one kind of slow plodding rhythm all the time. As a matter of fact, around I think it's about the 53-second mark, there's like a bit of a galloping groove that kicks in that just ups that intensity and that meanness a little bit. And I like that. I think that's fucking great. It just seems to get better and better as well. That is excellent. I have been working diligently on keeping track of all my favorite records of this year, and I have pulled together what I thought, at least for a period of time, was like a definitive top 15, and I sort of thought to myself, like, geez, bands are gonna have to put out something really insane to get any of these records off. Obviously, this is with a view to a top 20 at the end of the year. But man, there's so much stuff coming out this year still. It's going to be fucking difficult. And I think it's going to be the hardest year ever to do a top 20 of 2022. I mean, and I'm not complaining. I think it's awesome that is the case because it means more cool stuff for me. Speaking of lists, Mike Hill reached out to me recently with a very cool idea he's had for an Everything Went Black episode. I won't let the cat out of the bag, but if that episode happens, it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, and it means you'll see me on that podcast at some point soon. And I just want to say again, I do think that this podcasting community that we've created, I think is something, at the risk of sounding like a fucking wimp, it's something very special because it's it's just kind of sprung up completely organically. Mike and I started talking, we got on. I started really liking Necromaniacs. I had known about Everything Went Black for a while before I spoke to him for the first time, got into Necromaniacs. We sort of all started getting to know each other, Cheyenne, myself. I came across Brandon Legion through Mike. And then, I just took it upon myself to start promoting, and then everybody else started doing exactly the same. And like I said, it kind of really does feel like we've sort of started this community now, and I think it's fucking exciting. I think we're on the cusp of something potentially even cooler. So who knows where it all goes down the road, but it really invigorates me, this whole thing. So take that for what it's worth, but for sure make sure you check out Everything Went Black, Necromaniacs, Iblis Manifestations, and Horrible 666. They are all top quality podcasts. It doesn't seem like there's actually, wait, hang on. Lamb of God premiere, Nevermore single and video. I'm not going to bother with that because actually, to be honest, I have heard it and it sucks. But I have not heard this yet, and I do like Sahg. So it says here, Sorg will be releasing their 6th full-length effort in October. October the 21st, 2022 will see the release of Sarg's next studio album titled Born Demon. The 10-piece music output was produced by Olaf Iverson, mixed and mastered by Russ Russell, he of Napalm Death fame. Other details, including the track list and cover artwork, as well as the title track, can be checked out down under. They have included a music video for Born Demon here, so let's give this a whirl. that is also doing it for me. This is a fucking great week. I think that like sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but that kind of open picked melody that plays in between each vocal line, I love that. I think the main riff is very, very cool. I think the vocals sound very cool. It's got a really sort of it's got a kind of a 70s vibe, but brought into a modern setting, without sounding pretentious, without sounding like they're trying too hard. But yeah, and I think that sounds fucking excellent. Very catchy as well. It's something that kind of sticks in your head immediately. So far, so good on Born Demon. And then they go and do something even cooler, I think, by kind of following the same formula on the next verse, but just changing up that melody just a little bit. It's just that little subtle tweak, and I love stuff like that. Looking outside of metal, some of my favorite things that I've heard in music are when people do like just a slight pause with a vocal line, and you can hear it was an intentional pause, and it just sort of adds that impact and that effect. Or something like this, where it's just that slight twist on a riff or a melody that they used previously, but it just elevates it and it just makes it sound so cool. I'm fucking loving this. Fantastic. Give your mother's life to demons of the night. Not exactly the kind of shit you're going to listen to when you're having Sunday lunch with the old folks. But I think that's excellent. And when that chorus kicks in, they've built up to it so well. I am very, very, very excited about this record. Born Demon is the name of the album, and it's going to be out through Drakkar Entertainment, I believe, on the 21st of October. Man, like I said, what a year for music. It's just getting absolutely insane. Okay, let's move over to the Democrats' Guide to Rock Music now. And the first headline is well, we've not heard from Tommy Lee in quite a while, but it says here that Tommy Lee won't say how he broke his ribs because it's fucking bullshit. So, I mean, I don't know if his son Brandon beat him up or whether he's joined the autofellatio crowd. For those that don't know what autofellatio is, it is sucking your own penis. And I didn't notice the other day, and how I know that this has become a thing again is I get these incredibly random fucking articles sent to my newsfeed from Google. And I mean, why? I don't know. Because loads of it is just about, COVID is coming back. Summer is going to be a new wave. Monkeypox is terrible, etc., etc. Bizarrely, they sent me an article the other day from Vice magazine. Coronavirus is a golden age for people sucking their own dicks. Why they think, or why the algorithm would think I am in any way interested in that, I have no fucking idea. But I did read the article all the same because it's fucking funny. Boredom and horniness come together to drive a resurgence for people learning about autofellatio. Reddit user 6-month Suck is determined to put his time in social isolation social isolation due to the coronavirus pandemic to good use. Some of us are back in yoga now. Others are coping with homemade bread. A lot of people are suddenly super into regrowing scallions. Some are hard at work making unfulfilled horniness their whole personalities. 6-month Suck is using this time to try and suck his own dick. A lot of people in quarantine are two things, bored and horny, he told me in a direct message. I'm no different. Self-sucking seems to exist where those things intersect. I love how Vice magazine have somehow perfected the art of intellectualizing the stupidest bullshit on the face of the fucking planet. But as I said, that's a big sidebar. Short for, I think Tommy Lee attempted to suck his own dick. Things went horribly awry, and now he's broken his ribs. What a complete and utter pleb. Next up, let's see. Iron Maiden to cover remaining cost of Paul Di'Anno's surgeries and treatments. I think that is a very stand-up thing of them to do. Very cool indeed. I'm not a big fan of Iron Maiden, but I do really like the first two Iron Maiden records with Paul Di'Anno on. So for me, that's very cool. It says here, ex-Iron Maiden singer Paul Di'Anno is currently in Croatia awaiting 3 major surgeries on his knees and will have the remaining costs of his operations and treatment funded by his former bandmates. Earlier today, Castro Pergioni, operations director of the Cart and Horses pub in Stratford, London, England, where Iron Maiden made its live debut in 1976, who recently raised thousands of dollars so Di'Anno can undergo his long-delayed knee surgery, took to the Cart and Horses Facebook page to share the following message. I'm very excited to announce that the Iron Maiden team have kindly agreed to cover the remaining cost of Paul Di'Anno's operation. Not only are Iron Maiden the best band on this planet, debatable, they are kind-hearted and supported by an amazing team. As a result of this fantastic news, I will be closing the fundraising on the 21st of June, 2022. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Iron Maiden fan, but that is an incredibly nice thing of them to do, and I am very, very much in support of them doing so. And Paul Di'Anno, hope he gets well soon. Watch pro shot video of Down's entire performance at France's Hellfest. I will definitely be checking that out. Big fan of Down, big fan of Phil Anselmo, and huge fan of Coke Winstein. So it's a I'll for sure check that out. I did see the set list. It was lacking in Temptation's Wings from memory. Let's have a quick gander if they've got it. Yeah, don't know why the fuck they would leave that out. Also, I don't know why they don't start doing Dazed and Confused as kind of a standard part of the set. But that's just me. Anyway, Max Cavalera says he got busted drinking hand sanitizer before he finally got sober. Max Cavalera, formerly of Sepultura and now currently of Soulfly Cavalera Conspiracy, was a guest on a recent episode of the Hardcore Humanism with Dr. Mike podcast. During his conversation with clinical psychologist and life coach Dr. Mike Friedman, Max talked about coping with poverty as a child in Brazil when his father died, about his DIY approach to starting his music career. With his brother, former Sepultura drummer Igor Cavalera, he struggles with substance abuse and how his passion for music helped him get sober. I'm not going to know what to say. I'm not going to look it up for too long. But it says here, according to Max, one of the final straws that made him decide he had to change his life was a particularly crazy incident on the road. We were on some European tour and I wanted to drink real bad and there was nothing on the bus to drink. I ended up going to the bathroom and drinking liquid hand soap. I got busted doing that. My wife opened the door and I've got the whole jug of hand sanitizer and she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I was like, "I'm drinking hand sanitizer. I need help." It was one of those crazy moments. He signed off by saying, "Fuck all your bullshit. Fuck all your politics." On a serious note, though, glad that Max is clean and sober. I've been reading a lot of music autobiographies lately. I started with Mark Lanigan's excellent, I think it's called Sing Backwards and Weep. It is the first autobiography that genuinely, when I was done, I felt morose, sad, in a way that I can't recall feeling sad about somebody passing away since Pete Steele. And actually, frankly, as much as I'm a bigger fan of Typo Negative than I am of Mark Lanigan's music, I was probably more sad about this because, I don't know, maybe it's the fact that he narrated the book and, you obviously know, as much as the book ends on almost kind of a cliffhanger, you know that he passed away about 2 years after, he'd finished writing the book. But yeah, I was very sad about that. But obviously, this dude went through some, he had some major demons when it came to the old Class A. And then I've also recently revisited Duff McKagan's autobiography, It's So Easy, another guy who had his struggles. He mentions at one point in the book drinking his own puke because that was the only thing to hand that had alcohol in it, which is when you know you have hit rock bottom. Unfortunately, the Duff McKagan autobiography is not read by the Duff McKagan, but it's one I still highly recommend. Check it out on Audible. I listened to it, and I also I have read it years back, but I just wanted to read it again or listen to it again because in Mark Lanigan's autobiography, he actually mentions that when he was homeless, it was actually Duff that reached out to him and offered him to go and take care of one of his houses in Seattle, which I thought was a very stand-up thing to do. And also, as another side note, I think that if you haven't listened to it yet, you absolutely need to do yourself a favor and check out Blues Funeral by Mark Lanigan. An absolutely incredible record. Most of his records are very good. The last one I didn't like very much, but Whiskey for the Holy Ghost, Blues Funeral, Bubblegum is excellent. All of those records, strongly recommended. Let's move on. Ghost cuts Hellfest performance short after Tobias Forge loses his voice. Let's see if there's anything else. Massive new statue of Lemmy unveiled at France's Hellfest. Surprised that it was not beset almost instantly by a legion of, by the French chapter of the woke Taliban. I mentioned, I touched on it in the intro of the podcast, overwhelmingly positive response to the last episode that I did with Nas of Ecclese. I had one sniveling simpleton that, did the typical triggered leftist, you're so stupid, read a book, that they're prone to do. The funny thing about people like that is they'll always tell you to read a book, but they'll never tell you what book to read. And they'll always tell you you're stupid, but they'll never be able to tell you why they disagree with you. It's just because they have had a triggered response, an ungoverned emotional response to your existence. And I did the right thing, and I just fucking ignored the guy because who cares? You'll get into an argument with somebody like that, and then the next thing you know, it's the cancel mob is after you, and there's a hate campaign online, and they're trying to dox you, and then they're going after your fucking employer and all sorts of shit. So I can't be asked with that, but I will definitely say it is clear to me that Nas and I struck a chord with a great many of you, and I'm very happy with that or about that. And I'm very appreciative of some of the great things that everybody said about the episode. And I really do think I listened to that whole thing back to back before I posted it. And I don't think that we said anything there that could be misconstrued as in any way hateful. Yes, we both have very strong opinions. We both share opinions on probably a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think it was a very positive conversation. And the message there was, people need to be cool to each other. People need to be able to meet in the middle and have a civil conversation about things, because that's, as a species, how we will survive. And if we lose that, then we will not survive. But he'll definitely be on the podcast again at some point soon. And to Wilfred McFuckface, or whatever the hell his name is, who was sobbing about it, get bent. Let's see what else. Ted Nugent repeats false claim that police invited January 6 protesters to enter Capitol. Not so fast, laddybuck. I'm not going to go into the whole fucking, faux insurrection again. Because, again, it was for sure a embarrassing moment for America, and it was something that shouldn't have happened, and I don't think Trump handled it correctly whatsoever. But at the same time, I did say, I think anyone that thinks that was a coup needs to actually go back in history and understand what coups look like when they actually happen. There's no way that a bunch of drunken rabble is going to be able to take over the entire country. I mean, if you look at some of the video footage of them inside the Capitol, it looks like they're on a guided tour of a museum. But the main thing that I wanted to point out, why I say this, this is not necessarily a false claim, is that NPR, who themselves are no friend o' the right, has an article dated February 19th, 2021. Capitol Police suspends 6 officers, investigates dozens more after Capitol riots. Says here, the U.S. Capitol Police has suspended 6 officers with pay for their actions on January 6th when a pro-Trump mob attacked the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to stop the certification of President Biden's Electoral College victory, according to a department statement. An additional 29 officers remain under investigation as part of the department's ongoing probe into the events that unfolded that day. There is video footage of them waving people through. I mean, I agree with what Nas said, that if this was really serious, there would have been fucking blood running down the streets, because, surely you would have, armed security there at a building like that, and they would be, going hell for leather, not holding back with the old assault rifles on the drunken flotsam and jetsam of society. But yeah. It's definitely not a false claim. There was for sure some shenanigans going on there, and again, there can be 2 things can be correct, right? So Ray Epps could most likely have been a FBI plant or an FBI operative, much the same as everybody there was a fucking absolute moron and had an IQ or functioning IQ of 63. I don't see why those 2 things need to be mutually exclusive. Another thing that doesn't need to be mutually exclusive is listening to black metal and also liking you some Guns N' Roses. Maybe even a little bit of Nirvana from time to time. This article, Kirk Hammett, Why Kurt Cobain Didn't Want to Share the Stage with Guns N' Roses. Interesting to me because of the book that I mentioned earlier. But it says here, in a brand new interview with NME, Kirk Hammett reflected on the fact that Nirvana turned down the opening act slot on a 1992 stadium tour featuring Metallica and Guns N' Roses. Anybody who's anybody of a certain age knows all about that tour, because it was like the biggest thing running. And it was around about the time that a lot of us were getting into heavy stuff. I remember Faith No More. I actually checked out Angel Dust because they were on that tour. Very glad I did, because it's a fucking incredible record. But it says here, I had to make the phone call to Kurt to talk to him about the possibility of joining our tour, and he just went on and on about how he didn't like what Guns N' Roses stood for, and I said to him, just go out there and represent Nirvana, just play the show, and then that's it. I pleaded with him, but he just wasn't having it, so there you have it. It would have been great if Nirvana was part of the tour, but the actual opening act, Faith No More, were great as well. I don't think that Kurt's issue was with the rest of the guys in the band as much as it was with Axl. And I have to say, not to make this a episode of 135, the Guns N' Roses debate, I will definitely say, based on what I've read in Slash's autobiography and in Duff's, Guns N' Roses would have been served very well if old Axl had taken himself an ass kicking or 2 back in the band's prime, because he was doing stupid shit like going out to fucking fireworks shows and things like that, and then turning up at a show at 1 a.m. in the morning. So I mean, that is pathetic. The guy should have stood up to him as well, but again, he was surrounded by a load of fucking bottom feeding troglodytes that were I was about to say throbbing his gristle, but you guys know what I mean, feeding into that unhinged ego. So I can't imagine that was easy to deal with either. But yeah, I would for sure say, can't speak for the man, obviously, and he's in post-mortem. But I definitely think that my takeaway is I think Kurt's issue would have been with Axl rather than the rest of the band. Let's finish off with a song. So it says here, Venom Inc. shares new single, Don't Feed Me Your Lies. I didn't mind that last Venom Inc. record. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. This new record is called There's Only Black. It's the follow-up to 2017's Ave. It marks the second recording under the name Venom Inc., while Dunn and Dolan have a long history as recording artists together in Venom, Prime Evil, and Mantis solo projects. Let's give it a listen. So this song had reasonable promise up until that part that just kicked in now. That sounds absolutely atrocious. I mean, the intro was a little long-winded, but like I said, it felt like it might turn into something cool, something that's got a bit of nastiness to it, a bit of groove. That bit that just played now, complete and utter muck.
Tears of sympathy, narcissistic lies, no responsibility, everything denied. Story-eyed, they hang on every word. It's there for the taking, giving nothing in return. A legend in your own demise, I watch you crash and burn.
That is a load of shit. And also, I mean, these Venom Inc. guys make no bones of the fact that they hate Venom and they hate Kronos. If you look at their website, it says Venom Inc., the true spirit of Venom music. My balls. That is definitely not the true spirit of Venom music. I mean, you take my favorite Venom song, 1,000 Days in Sodom, compare it to that fucking garbage. I'm sorry, but they're not playing the same. They're not playing in the same ballpark. They're not even playing the same sport. And on that note, my friends, we are wrapping up another thrilling installment of the News Rant segment for this week. I hope that it lived up to the hype for those that missed last week's. And like I said, on a serious note, I'm genuinely happy that so many people seem to miss its presence. I will be sure never to do that to any of you ever again. And that brings me to the end of another installment of Into the Necrosphere. I am back next week with Matt Wilcock of Werewolves and Antichrist Imperium. A really fun conversation that. I want to say thank you very much to Dagon and Azrael from Heathen Deity for coming on the show this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Make sure you check out their record, True English Black Metal. They are also dropping the vinyl for that album, I think probably in the next week or two. So if you're a vinyl fiend, then make sure that you check that out. And make sure you check out From the Cave to the Grave by Werewolves. And also make sure, I said it before, I'm going to repeat it again, make sure you check out my brother podcasts, Everything Went Black, Necromaniacs, Iblis Manifestations, and Horrorwolf 666. I bring that up specifically because recently on Everything Went Black, my man Evan Hopper of Quell was a guest. Excellent episode, well worth listening to. There was a conversation had about Morbid Angel. Some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. One thing I don't necessarily quite agree with is Evan's vile comments, vile and incendiary comments about the most recent Morbid Angel record, Kingdoms Disdained, which I actually think isn't too bad. I'm going to play out with a song off this record right now to prove my point. I think one of the most fucking badass things Morbid Angel has written since any of the tracks contained on my favorite Morbid Angel record of all time, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. The song is called Declaring New Law. Whatever it is that you're doing, wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you bad motherfuckers again next week. Oh, folks, old Jackson cutting in here again. Midway through my working day to let you know that if you were eagerly anticipating a episode drop first thing on a Tuesday morning, you have WMG Music to thank for the fact that it couldn't happen. Why? Because they're a bunch of lab-grown grade A cunts. So instead of Morbid Angel, because Morbid Angel got me blocked on, or got the video blocked on YouTube, you are instead going to be treated to another track by my guests this week, Heathen Deity. This is the title track off of their debut record, True English Black Metal. Play it loud and proud. I'll see you motherfuckers next week. Peace!